Hey y'all, I'm Stay Hall.
And I'm Wallace Hall.
And together we are the Halls. And this is the Hallway. So today we want to talk about, can you truly work together as a couple?
Yes.
And not meaning work together as a couple, like as a couple working together, because that should go without being said, because if you're a couple, you should work together as a couple. We're talking about working together as a couple in a business.
Right. Yeah. We've had a few different businesses, trucking business, some real estate stuff, cleaning business. So we had a couple different things, and also now our soft skills business, which is doing really well. iSoftForYou.com for those of you who want to get involved and improve your soft skills. And now the Hallway, running for your life was a thing that was yours.
We've done a lot together.
So we've done a lot, and I think working together in couples is very needed in relationships and things like that. So it's all about being a team, and we're Team Hall, and that's how we do it.
Yeah, so many people have asked me over the years, how is it working with your husband every day? There is no way I could work with my husband every day. He would get on my nerves. Y'all don't get tired of being around each other? And my answer to that is absolutely not. Like, our goal in life is to be to the point where all we are doing is working together, where we don't have to worry about any outside projects that separate us from the work that we do together.
Right.
And it's not like we're so codependent that we can't be apart, because working together and being together every day still is separate from your own self-care time. But it's just that we enjoy each other's company so much, and we are so like-minded with the same goals. It just comes natural for us to work together.
Right, and working together in that environment, vibing off each other, the creativity. It's nothing like when you're putting something in together and you're working for yourself. That's probably the biggest key point, is that you're working for yourself and you're putting something in together and you're watching it blossom and grow. And that's the beautiful thing about working together, because I truly like being with my best friend, and she is my best friend. Not sure if I'm her best friend, but she is my best friend, and I enjoy working with her. I enjoy being with her. It's just the things that kind of come along with having working with your best friend, those perks, as we call it, working with your best friend, because we, in the spur of the moment, have different ideas and things like that, how we can just talk through stuff. The creativity just kind of flows, and we just kind of talk and say, hey, I was thinking about doing this. What do you think about that? And working together, it's a different type of relationship. I know some couples don't like that type of environment, but we thrive off that environment. I encourage people, when you kind of work together, you can put egos to the side and things like that, and just work together. You become very successful. It strengthens the bond in your marriage and your relationship just by you two being around each other. And I don't really ever understood how people could have a marriage or have a friendship or any type of thing and you don't spend any time together.
Right. And one thing that resonates with me when I think about it is that old saying you hear all the time: it's not personal, it's business.
Right.
And you do have to be able to separate the two. So we are a partnership in marriage, but we're also a partnership in business. However, in business, there will be times when maybe one person has an idea that the other person isn't too keen on, or maybe you were working on a project and the other person feels like there needs to be some tweaks and different things done. And you can't take it too personal. You have to realize that as a team, as a unit, you are a married couple, but you're also business partners, and you have the same goal. You're trying to grow your business. You're trying to grow your brand. And so you have to be able to take that positive, constructive criticism and sometimes change things a little bit, and not feel like just because this is your spouse, they should never say, hey, I think you can do a better job on that, or hey, I think we might need to change that. And you can't let that trickle over into your marriage. And so now at dinner, you're not speaking because you don't like the color palette I chose for the new book cover, you know?
nowadays it's all about being together. And most of us work, when we talk about why do we go to work, why do we make the sacrifice we do, we say for our families and things like that. And that is for us in order to be together and to spend more time. So in creating a working environment where you're working together on something, that goes a long way of building that family time and those things, because now you're together. I'm not saying, you don't need your little breaks here and there for different stuff, but building that and working that together. And like I say, the creativity side of stuff, you able to say, hey, she comes up with an idea, say, hey, let's see where it goes. I come with an idea, she say, well, let's see how that goes. So working it together and being each other's cheerleaders is a big part of what we have going on. I encourage a lot of other couples to do the same thing. Be each other's cheerleader. That's probably one of the things we talk about most in our, soft skills for couples, is be each other's cheerleader. We're in our new book, The Hallway.
We have a whole chapter dedicated to that.
Yeah, just being each other's cheerleader and promoting each other. And I'd rather promote her than promote anybody else. That doesn't make sense how I can be happier for someone else doing something instead of for my own wife. That doesn't make sense. So that environment of working together and championing each other's ideas and just trying to see how things kind of go. And when you see those things kind of sometimes come to fruition, and those things build and they become what you want them to be, that's awesome. Like when she started writing a book, to watch that whole process happen, the ebbs and flows to that, the ups and downs, and to see the fulfillment and the completeness of that and watch how she lit up. I think I was probably more excited than she was about seeing us complete that. And now we've completed our second book. And to see that part of us working together and seeing how that happens, man, just the accomplishment and the feeling of that is just unbelievable. And I encourage couples to work together on things and try and see, what you can do. You don't have to be writing a book. It could just be just sitting down and putting a budget together, just being truthful with that. Just putting thoughts and ideas together. Starting a business together and each one understanding each other's roles. That's going to go a long way in just kind of, back up. Defining roles is probably the most important part of that.
Yeah, defining roles and knowing how to stay in your lane.
That's it. Knowing how to stay in your lane. Because someone's got to be responsible for this, someone's got to be responsible for that. And that's something that we learned early on, that we can't do everything. You got to allow the other person to do this. She's good at editing, so she does a lot of editing on videos. I'm good at the technical side of setting stuff up and making sure we got the proper lighting, make sure we got the proper equipment. That's my role in this, and we work together on content. So that's just how that goes. It can't be me over here telling, well, you need to edit it this way, you need to edit it that way, you need to say it like this, say it like that. That's just not going to be productive. We got to make sure we're doing things together and knowing each other's role and staying in your lane.
Yes, and one major perk about working together as a married couple is you get very cheap labor. Like, very cheap labor.
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to find anyone to set up my lighting and get my camera together for free. Like, it's free. And so it's very cheap labor. So
to research stuff and how this is going to go and find out the latest software for this. And
yes, it's so nice to just say, I would love for my other video or my next video or whatever to look like this. Can you figure that out? And I don't have to pay a dime. So it's very cheap labor. But in all seriousness, another very important thing about working together as a couple in business is you do have to create those boundaries, because you are a married couple, and now once you've entered into this business together, especially if it's full-time, you may find yourselves being together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is great, but you have to still realize it is a job and then there is a marriage. So there's two separate things. So you have to set up your time so that you don't end up working 24/7, because now we're working together as a couple. So you don't want work to carry over into dinner time, to carry over into bedtime, to carry over into nighttime. So we set up a strict schedule, just like we are at work. We're going to work from this time to this time. We're going to break for lunch, or we're going to dinner tonight. We're not going to talk about work, because that's something that a lot of couples, I think, worry about, is they don't want the business to consume their marriage. So you have to be very intentional about setting those boundaries and sticking to them and holding each other accountable, because I know that I'm really bad about, no matter what we say we're going to do, I'm still in the bedroom at 10 o'clock talking about this stuff and pulling out my notebook and jotting things down, but he'll remind me, I thought we were going to watch a movie, and so you have to do that. And then I immediately realize, because this stuff can wait until tomorrow. And if I wasn't married to my business partner, would I be sitting here at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night trying to talk about business? Probably not. So setting those boundaries is what keeps even though it's still the two of you, it's what keeps the business separate from the marriage.
Right, because most of you that work at XYG job or XYZ ABC corporate job.
I've never heard XYG job.
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
ABC or XYZ corporate job. When 5 o'clock comes, you punch out and you don't mention anything else about your job, anything unless you're complaining or something else is going on. So you got to keep that in mind of, hey, we got to make sure it's separate. Now, I'm not saying thoughts and ideas won't come up. That's why each one of us keeps like a little journal beside the bed or something like that. So when you have those ideas or you have those things, you can just jot them down. You can talk about them later. You don't always have to talk about them right now. And that way it stays fresh on your mind and you can always come back to it later. So you do keep those times separate, and one of the benefits of, working together and things like that is that, having that time where when you have disagreements, you just have disagreements and to move on, and you can leave those in the business, in the office, and then move on with your marriage or your other thing. And you got to make sure you don't try to merge those conflicts. Or, I was mad at you because you said this about my idea, or you said this. All right, you got to leave that in the office. And like I said, the makeup time is wonderful. So we gotta just move on from there. I'll leave that there.
Anyway.
No HR issues.
I don't know what's wrong with him. But no, another thing that you have to realize that is so great about working together as a couple is no one feels left out. I know a lot of couples where one person might have a business, they're an entrepreneur, they have an entrepreneurial spirit. And I know that entrepreneurship and business ownership is not for everyone. However, this is my advice to those couples who maybe one is an entrepreneur and the other one isn't. Still find some way to include your spouse in the business, because one thing with us is we're both always working towards the same goals on the same project, so no one ever feels left out. I'm never just somewhere working away, dedicating all this time to this project, and he's just completely clueless and just has to sit out in the living room flicking through the TV because I'm working. We're always working together. But in those cases with the couples who maybe they both don't, find some way to include your spouse. Let them know what you're working on. Ask their opinion on things. And if there is something that they really are great at and have a skill set that you can use, even if they don't want to be completely immersed in your business, just ask them if they can do that one thing. If they're a great graphic designer, if they're an awesome accountant, whatever it is, just find some way so that they don't feel completely excluded and left out, because being an entrepreneur and running your own business takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. It's awesome when you're both experiencing that together because you understand and you know how it goes.
Right.
But if you're not, just find some way to include them so that they don't feel so left out while you're putting so much into your baby, your business.
Right, and we're not saying all this just to say it, because we're saying this because this is through trial and error. Some things that we started out in our business, to things like that. Certain business she wasn't involved in as much. Certain business I started, we had the conversation. I started that I went on the road and tried to do a lot of stuff myself, and didn't include her in a lot of different things. And boy, did that cause issues. So we're just being transparent here. That caused issues. And we won't bring that particular business back up. But like I said, that business caused issues in our marriage. And when we got opportunity to sell out of that business and move forward, it was just such a welcome relief to let that go. But that's just one of the things that you got to make sure you're involving your spouse, involving your partner in those thoughts. Those ideas of those businesses and things like that. Don't just go off and just create something and then don't include them. And something we were talking about the other day is when you're an entrepreneur and things like that, and your spouse, and you got to have those conversations. You got to be willing to have those conversations beginning, and other persons, hopefully that y'all are trying to build something together. Your understanding, say, hey, this is my mindset. This is what I try to do. I'm not really a lot of people like corporate type people. I'm not a 9-to-5 person. I want to have my own business, and I'm willing to build toward my own business. And you got to be able to share those ideas. Maybe the wife, maybe the husband, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the fiance, however you want to word it, but be able to have those conversations, explain in the beginning, this is what I want to do. I want to have my own business. And if you are partnering up with someone who doesn't understand being an entrepreneur, taking those risks and things like that, then you might want to reevaluate that situation, because you don't want to get into something, especially a marriage, and start involving kids and things like that, and then get down the road and say, this is what I've always wanted to do, and this is what I'm trying to do, and the other person like, well, I don't think that's right, I don't think we should be doing that. Those are conversations that you should have had in the beginning when we set those foundations of what our relationship is going to be about. And this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to go about trying to achieve my dreams or achieve my vision that's been given to me. And I want to do this. And you got to have a spouse that's being supportive of that, because sometimes it's going to be risky. Sometimes you're going to have to make some decisions that are uncomfortable, but you're going to have those uncomfortable conversations in the very beginning, so you both can set out on being on the right path.
Right. And what happened with us with the business that shall remain nameless is
we both having trouble today. I don't know what's going on.
But it was just the fact that he started a business that I just was not very knowledgeable about. I wasn't very interested in it. And I was completely on board with him starting the business, but he felt as though, since I wasn't really interested in the actual business itself and what he was doing, that I didn't want to have any parts of it. But he didn't realize that I would like to learn. You don't just have to move forward completely without me. And so in hindsight, going back to my last point of that inclusion, was there were places where I could have fit and been helpful in that business. We just didn't realize it until it was too late. He just thought, okay, she's good with this. She knows I'm starting a business. She's not interested, so let me just do it. But then I would see him struggle with certain things. And of course, as a wife, the first thing I want to do is help, just like any spouse would. But because I wasn't included, I didn't even know where to start. So I just had to sit back and watch, which was painful for me. But I also had that little part like, why didn't you include me from the beginning? So we just realized moving forward that even though we're both entrepreneurs, we might not have the same entrepreneurial interests, but we can always find a place for each other within that business, even if it's not in totality.
Right. And I was being totally selfish, and I was at a point where it's like, hey, I know this business, I know how this should go, I know the people that I should involve in this, and so that's kind of what I relied on and trying to go forward, and that ended up being a huge mistake that I it's been several years ago. We moved on from that and done several other business, and we've grown from that.
Yeah.
But like I said, that was just a situation in the very beginning where I thought I knew it all. I thought I had it all under control. And no, it just didn't work out like that. But I think I know for a fact, if I would have involved her from the beginning, it would have been a different outcome to the way the thing kind of played out, especially between us. And at the end of the day, this is really the most important thing. It's what we have. It's not about, everybody else. It's about what we have. And I know this video kind of started off us talking about this, but I think this is talking about for as entrepreneur and can people work together. This is really the most important part. And we want to, probably here in a little bit, going to give you some ideas about some business that you may want to do, or some thoughts that you might want to move forward for as couples working together. But the most important part is having that conversation of how you guys are going to work together. And that's really the key to it all, is how you guys work together and making sure you have those very, very critical conversations in the beginning. That way you're not having them, at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning
when you can't sleep.
It's better if you get those things kind of figured out in the very beginning of your relationship and you kind of move forward.
And if you guys have sat through all of this craziness, that means you must like us a whole lot. So before we move on, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and also hit the notification bell so that you will be notified every time we drop new content, because we're just this crazy every single time, and evidently y'all like it. So come back, and then you're going to be upset if you miss something. So hit the bell, subscribe, like, do all the things. But yeah, we
also, wish you guys would share this content with other people. I really do feel like we could really help the masses here. Like I say, we're not trying to be some soap opera type couple. We just want to just be transparent and just be the Halls, just be who we are. And, we like to have fun and share. And like I say, and having a business and working together is a big way that we share, a big way that we give back. We're involved in several things outside of our normal business stuff together in the community. So we just love being with each other, love having fun. And that's kind of what we wanted to share.
Right. And
today.
The more you do as a couple, the more you learn about each other, which is always awesome. You never want to get to the point where you think you know everything about anything, and that's including your spouse. I love learning new things about Wallace. I love watching him interact in new situations and do different things. I mean, it's cool because I'll see him sometimes working and doing something. I'm like, I didn't know you knew how to do that. So can you help me with that? So it's really cool. And I just want to encourage you guys to see what you can do to work together as a couple in business if that is your desire. I mean, I have seen so many awesome things on social media where you have the ladies who are selling the jewelry and their husband is there in the background writing down the names of the people who are taking the orders or, whatever. It's just so much fun and it takes less time away from you as a couple. So just find a way. Even if you're not starting a business together, if one of you is already in business, just find a way to include your spouse. And I promise you guys, you won't regret it. So if you are a couple in business together, drop in the comments some helpful tips and tricks about how you navigate that whole dynamic. Also, if you have any questions for us about how we move and operate as a couple in business together and we haven't covered that in this video, drop those questions in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for being here with us today. Again, like the video if you liked it. Hit that subscribe and notification bell. And I'm Stay Hall.
And I'm Wallace Hall.
And we will see you next time in the hallway.